our Leader Connection page. And we also will have the resources that we're talking about related to children's ministry will be in a Wakelet. And so we'll have one link for you, and that link then you'll be able to click on, and we'll get you to links with all of the other resources. For those who might not be familiar with Wakelets, they're kind of like, I don't know, crazy Pinterest bulletin boards for education folks or something along those lines. And so we'll drop that Wakelet in here in a moment. And we have two folks with us joining us today. So we have Becky D'Angelo-Veach, who is the Director of Faith Formation at Third Pres in Rochester. And we have Meg Rift, who is with Presbyterian Publishing in Curriculum. And so they're each going to do a little bit of sharing with us, and then we will share additional resources. So the Wakelet link that's in there will be related to the resources that I'm sharing, number 3 down the way. So welcome. We're glad you all are here. And Becky, take it away.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everybody. It's interesting. Miata emailed me and said, do you want to talk about the state of children's ministry? And I said, sure. But I think the interesting thing is, of course, the trends we're noticing are that trends are really different. But I kind of picked 4 trends that I was noticing that I thought we could have some conversation around. And so for each one, I'll kind of describe what I'm thinking about, but I'd love to hear what you all are seeing. So the first one that jumped out at me is we are seeing fewer families with less regularity. And, I think just the idea of families being here every Sunday, week to week, we're not seeing in quite the same way. And, Meg will be talking to you later about curriculum. And I know another hat I sometimes wear is working with PPC on curriculum. And, we're told as curriculum writers, you can't assume that if you're doing a 4-session unit, that every single student or even most of the students will have been there. So we, as PPC kind of, write with that idea that we're not seeing people every single week. What are you all seeing? Does that mesh with what you're seeing? And again, with the screen share, I just invite you to unmute and pop in if you have any thoughts.
Absolutely. We have single divorced dad with 2 kids. And so he usually only comes when he has his kids. And so that's maybe 2 times a month and things like that. So not to get ahead of you, but we've gotten to the point where we're just having Sunday school once a month for the kids as a means of trying to get a critical mass together.
Yeah, no, not getting ahead of me at all. And before you remute, Catherine, like how is that?
This year was probably the first. It's the first time we've had enough kids to have a Sunday school, or have expressed interest, just because our church is continuing to grow and hadn't had kids for a number of years. So, and pandemic and everything else. So, we had very flexible Sunday school teachers who basically had a lesson prepared and in hand for whenever those boys showed up. And, the regular attenders like my kids, if they wanted to go, because I didn't want to force her, because she's significantly older and everything else. So we're looking to change that model a little bit for the fall. One of the many reasons why it would be great to hear what you guys have to say. But what we're probably going to do is kind of have a standard day of the month that we do it, so that hopefully it encourages families to funnel in at least for one Sunday consistently.
Great, thank you.
It also eases the burden of the teachers in terms of stressing on them.
Right. It's hard on your volunteers when they work really hard and then don't get sort of that payoff. Yeah. Others.
We have a pretty consistent group of kids, but we find that a number of our families have difficulty getting up in time for worship, even though it's at 10. And so we have given them permission to bring the kids just for the Sunday school hour, which follows worship. And we have continued to allow families to Zoom into Sunday school class, which is happening less and less regularly. But I have a couple of families who come on a weekly basis just so the kids can attend Sunday school. And it's not ideal, but it's better than them not coming at all on Sunday morning. So that's been effective for us.
Thank you. Thank you. That's yeah, I think all these feel real familiar to me as well. Anyone else? Okay, I want to jump to another trend that I am seeing. Connecting with families in their homes is a sort of a new frontier, and lots of us maybe started exploring that in pandemic with subscription boxes or porch drop-offs or things. I'm interested. Who's still exploring it? How are you exploring it? What's that like? So please feel free to unmute and kind of share what that new frontier looks like for you all.
So good afternoon, everybody. This is Miguel from Houston. I would say that we are not exploring it anymore. I think like most churches, we were doing it during COVID pretty, regularly with the seasonal stuff. It's not that we didn't think it was valuable. We thought it was very valuable, but it became kind of a burden to try to literally put the things together at home, to take home and get delivered to the homes. And we were not sure that the things were appreciated. We were not seeing a return on investment when they would come back to the church and we'd ask them like, oh, how did you do this activity? Did you learn? And it was kind of like, well, yeah, I did that, or no, we got busy, and on we go. The other thing I will say is our parents have been very honest that they would much rather have activities at the church that were not just, oh, we made a craft and sent it home. And a lot of those boxes and things that we were putting together, it started to feel like you're just making a craft to make a craft or do an activity because you feel like you have to do an activity. So we're spending more time figuring out quality activities at the church, either during the week or for us, we're doing a children's Sunday school on the first and third Sunday of the month, and we have a curriculum that we've built out for that incorporated a lot of the activities we were doing in the boxes anyway.
Great, thank you. No, thanks for sharing. That's I saw some nodding on my screens as you were saying that. Yeah. Others.
This is Mark from Knoxville. I could say exactly what Miguel said in our setting. The pushback we got was from parents who said, I'm already so maxed out at home. I loved the ideas. We tried a little bit of it, but don't ask me to do anything more. I'd rather come to church and y'all help me manage it. I'd be glad to participate with you at church, but please, the good ideas seem like they would be the best for equipping at home and nurturing faith at home, but they'd rather come here, at least now.
Good, great, yeah. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on at home, whether it's gone well, whether it's sort of run its course, whether there is potential?
Hey, Becky, I'll just chime in real quick here on this one. This is Stephanie Fritz in the Office of Christian Formation, and we did do a large survey of as many families as we could get a hold of for a recent Lilly Grant application. And I think one of the things that we're hearing to echo Miguel and Mark is that families don't need tasks to do at home and activities to do at home, but they do need the skills. They're asking for the skills and the confidence to share their faith with their children, answer hard questions, enter into discussions. So I think skill building and at-home Sunday school are two different things, right? So this is just a little commercial for next month. We're going to talk about this more. So.
Great, great. Yeah, I think that in a way is right. When we, maybe in pandemic, when people were bored, we could send lots of crafts and things, but I know in our congregation, we tried a subscription box, which always had a children's book. It was a flyaway book, Meg, and a parenting resource of some sort, and maybe like a thing, like a prayer dice or something. But yes, the sort of cut apart crafts, maybe families' lives have gotten busy again, right? Let me move on to the next one if no one has anything else to add here. We're seeking more flexible curriculum options. And I know just in hearing a couple of you talk about the ways you're shifting the way you do Sunday school. Every week might not be what y'all are doing right now. Age and stage with a first grade class, a second grade class, a third grade class is not necessarily the same thing you're doing. So looking for some options that are a little more flexible. And I know Meg will talk about that more, so I won't steal her thunder, but I know certainly a lot of curriculum publishers have heard that and are starting to do it differently. What all are you doing with your curriculum, and what are you seeking?
So this is Miguel again. I'll just say with our children's Sunday school, what was very evident to us as we started to come out of the pandemic is there was a loss of knowledge, what I call knowledge fundamentals. So it's very clear to our families, requested by our families, they were like, we don't know our Bible as well as we should as parents. And they named that, and they were very honest about that. And so they said, we would like to start with the children of going back to the basics and learning the books of the Bible, and then learning the stories of the Old and New Testament. And so we, like I said, we had a church elder who is a Sunday school teacher of many years and has taught many generations in this church. And she literally built a curriculum around the Old and New Testament and teaching the kids the traditional stories. And then she also created a kind of 4 criteria, if you will, that they have to achieve. And then once they achieve that, and they can take as long as they want, there's no pressure, but once they achieve those criteria, then they get presented their Bible, their children's Bible in worship. So we're going to have our first student get hers on May 21st. So we're really excited.
That's really neat. Thank you for sharing that. A neat model. Someone else. So the last trend I identified, and I want to hear what trends you all are seeing, is sort of special events, one-off events that families can kind of show up to. For us, are feeling more important than ever because we're not necessarily getting the commitment in the same way we did. So how can we bring people together, whether it's an intergenerational gathering that happens periodically after church, or it's a picnic at the park, or sort of a meetup. We're finding we're just doing it sort of in non-traditional ways and non-traditional times. And I wonder if you all are utilizing special events as sort of a different way to reach families.
Hey, this is Catherine. I think that and maybe it's missing the point a little bit, but it's, for us, it's as much speaking to post-pandemic world about making the connections and having the families get to know each other. Not only have we had a lot of disconnect from pandemic, but also we just have a lot of new faces. And so one of the pieces that always seems to come up is that we as the church leaders know them all really pretty well, but they don't know each other. So we are as much about being kind of practical. I mean, I understand, and Miguel has hit it on the head in terms of saying that, you know, obviously biblical literacy, so to speak, or, you know, knowledge and those is definite. But I think that the more that they see, you know, God at work and looking at those pieces and seeing relationships, you know, going back to the pieces about, you know, when kids see healthy relationships of their parents with others in the church, they understand that they don't need to bug out after confirmation and never be seen again. So some of those sorts of pieces. So the more that we can build that. So we're actually reintroducing a monthly just breakfast on the playground sort of a thing for up to fifth graders, and they literally just come and play because they're all at different schools and they're all, you know, different things. So if the parents can get to know each other and the kids can get to know each other, then it's a little less foreign on Sunday mornings or other times, and they'll want to look forward to seeing each other and playing together. So eventually, as we kind of build in, that's when things start to do that. So yeah, as Laura said, absolutely every time relationship trumps programs.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially with families in pandemic, right? If you have a family with a 5-year-old, the last time things, you know, felt normal, they were maybe not even in program. They were maybe, you know, in the toddler room. And I think we find a lot of this, like closing the triangle, right? I have a relationship with this family. I have a relationship with this family, but they don't necessarily have a relationship together. And so making that sort of our goal. Yeah. What are you seeing? Are there trends? Are there shifts in mindsets you're bringing to your ministries that either are bearing fruit or that you're struggling with and trying to figure out what you might try next? Where are you all? Anyone have something to share?
This is Mark in Knoxville again. I think many on the Zoom would probably say or agree tradition is important. And so we're bringing back a lot of those traditions in the life of the church, and people are coming to that, but not in the same numbers. So the people who come to it find it significant, meaningful, helpful, therapeutic, but it's not the same for everybody. So have had a little bit of success of starting some new traditions, and out of curiosity of just plugging into something that's brand new and non-threatening, and hey, you know, nobody has missed that or nobody has any kind of expectation of being behind. I think they like the new traditions. So there's a lot of talk, for example, of this new life group that we started that is basically a small group with devotion that do knitting and stitching. And so these women have latched onto this, and it's, you know, tripled in size over the last 6 months. And so that kind of new small group for them has just been great for community, and seems like it may be a new trend for us to consider starting other new small groups that are very different than what we've ever done before.
Thank you.
We have started, I asked the session to give me a full year because there's only 5 of them in total, but on the 5th Sunday of every month, we actually Sabbath. The whole church building is closed in the morning. We don't do worship. We don't do Sunday school. We don't do any of that. And actually we, there's a prayer service that I record earlier in the week for about, 10 minutes or so if anybody needs something and feels like they have to have that 10 o'clock worship service. But we get together and have a dinner that include, or a worship experience, I call it, that includes dinner. Because they always come for a potluck and food and all that sort of thing. It's not uncommon. And so I intentionally start the service or the experience with kind of some of the familiar worship pieces that Mark was talking about in terms of, you know, call to worship and some of those things that they're traditional, but then trying to help them understand that there's different ways to explore and build their faith. So it hasn't been the same in the 2 times that we've done it, but it can be conversation around the table, but more so that we have a call to worship and then pray and then go eat, trying to help them understand that even sitting around tables and sharing a meal can be a worshipful experience, as opposed to saying, hey, everybody, as you come in, grab a plate and sit down. So we try to have everybody come in and sit and then go and eat as a part of the bigger picture. So instead of having kind of the traditional sermon, it ends up being some sort of thing. So we've done, you know, like vision boards, and they cut out magazine pictures, and, you know, we've done small group conversations. So it just depends on, you know, the theme, but we've tried to do something a little bit different. And it's starting to build some traction because we're trying to bring in other people that, even though it's the one Sunday a month that they can, you know, not have to get up and all, or what, I'm sorry, every Sunday, it seems like younger families are like, oh, we can't get our kids up. And it's like, you get your kids up at 7 o'clock every morning, you know, to go to school, but you can't come to 10 o'clock. Well, you don't have any excuses. Here's 5 o'clock, sleep in on Sunday morning and come to something different. And hopefully it's going to pull in some different families and maybe some new faces.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, well, we're almost done with time, but I want to just, my last slide, I want to share something kind of lighthearted. Our church in 4 years will be celebrating our 200th anniversary. And I want to share a clipping from our church newsletter 105 years ago, which is a timeless conversation. Big newsletter article written about whether Sunday school should be at 9:30 or 12:10, which is more important. So, and I share this sort of to make you giggle, but also just to remind us that, you know, we are never going to please everybody. Our programs are always going to not meet somebody's needs. And, you know, we do our best, and we're not going to solve it, but it made me laugh when my colleague brought this in a couple weeks ago. He's like, you have to look at this. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for your attention. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I think is it over to Meg Miata? Is that right?
Yes, so thank you, Becky. Thanks a lot for that sharing. And if y'all think of some other things here in a few minutes, we can have another opportunity for y'all to share if something else comes to mind. Appreciate that. I got going on everybody else and, you know, didn't introduce our office, right? That's what happens sometimes. So as Stephanie said, Stephanie Fritz, she's with us in the Office of Christian Formation, and I'm Miata Wilson, the Office of Christian Formation, and Janet's going to wave her hand. She's the third one of us in the Office of Christian Formation and doing some of the dropping stuff in the links. But we're also glad to have Meg along, and I think Meg's going to share with us some resources or ways to find them, at least, from PPC.
Hello. Yeah, if you're familiar with our PPC curriculum, this won't be much new, but I'll just give you some little helpful hints about, oh, great, of course my computer wants to restart now. We'll restart, leave it on. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's hope it doesn't restart right now. So I'm going to just take you to a screen that is just to see where you can find things. Okay, are y'all seeing the flyaway screen at the moment? Okay, great. So I'm going to start with flyaway books because that's always fun, and then we'll just go back to curriculum. The flyaway books, if you go to flywaybooks.com, that's the best way to get to flyaway books. You can also get to it through the store by clicking on titles, but this way you'll get to all the Flyaway books. And basically you can browse, you know, the new releases, what's coming soon. If you know a particular title, if you want a particular kind of topic area or something there, you can find different books. What I want to really show you on here is the resources tab, because a lot of the books, not all of them yet, but a lot of the books have some different resources. And right now they're very much kind of really, it just depends on the book and what they decided to do as a resource. They're not uniform in any way. One of the things we're working on probably in this next year is creating kind of a standardized resource page that will be how to use this book at church and at home. And that will, I don't know exactly where it'll be housed at this point. It might be a tab here that sends you somewhere. I won't get into all that. Anyway, right now you can find certain resources for certain books. So like here for Apple and Magnolia, which is a great book about two trees and the friendship these two trees have, which is actually based on kind of science. There's some background about that science and nature and how trees bond. Some of them are coloring pages like Arthur and the Forgetful Elephant, but there's also a background piece on Alzheimer's and kind of the aging and forgetfulness process that is good for parents to have, and some resources for them. So you can just, if you go to that resources page, you can see some different kinds of resources. Some of them, like I said, are just coloring pages at this point, or some of them have, like there's a downloadable guide because the code is about some homelessness and introducing that topic. So it's kind of a smattering. Like I said, they're not all standardized right now, but there are a lot of books that have some sort of resource. So you can find that on the resources tab for Flyaway books. I always have trouble with, where's my little bar? There we go. So PCUSA Store is your basic where you want to go for anything, PCUSAstore.com. And there's a curriculum tab, and that's where you can find all of your curriculum. And it's all broken down there. You can see the all ages, the early childhood, children, youth, adult, and then confirmation, Korean and Spanish language if you're looking for those. And then the buttons over here under Learn, whoa, it always moves quickly. Under Learn More will give you like the whole curriculum of, that's kind of their site pages that'll take you to those pages to tell you all about the curriculum. So like if we went to Follow Me here, which is our latest curriculum, it's for all ages. Follow Me and Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible curriculum, those were both responses to people wanting more flexibility. So they are both unit-based, they're libraries, meaning they will be there. There's no scope and sequence in the sense of I have to use this one, then I have to use that one. They can be used in any order and at any time. There's the scope and sequence. There's the order in which we produce them, but they're not in like you need to do those 3 in the fall and those 3 in the winter. With Follow Me, we do have an Advent and a Lent related unit. The Lent one is 6 sessions so that it could be used as a Lent study. The Advent ones, I will tell you, for the children are pretty Advent related, but for the youth and the adults, they tend to be more focused on the topic itself. Just because for the children, we feel like you need to tell that story every Advent. And they focus on that topic, but that practice, but they're not directly related in the youth and the adults. So there's Follow Me. Like I said, it's a flexible curriculum. It can be used by unit. We also did these as 4-session units, except for that Lent one, so that, again, hearing how people were trends that were happening, not necessarily that they were even doing them 4 weeks in a row, but you might use 1 or 2 units in a season. You might use, 2 sessions 1 month and 2 sessions another month. And people didn't want to buy the big, quarterly curriculums. So Follow Me and Growing in God's Love, the Story Bible curriculum, both do that. I'll take you over to that one real quickly. And I did not pay attention when I started, so tell me when I'm done. This one also, like I said, those are all the units that are now available. We're almost done. We have 4 units coming out this July and then last 3 units in January. And that will be all of the stories that are in Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible. So all of those units will be available, I want to say forever, as long as we have a website. And they're all, same with Follow Me, available in print and downloadable. With the Growing in God's Love, we based them more on what the topics were of the different stories in the Bible. So there are some that are 3 sessions, some that are 4 sessions, and some that are 5 sessions. Just because some held together, they only needed 3 sessions for a story maybe, and some needed 5 to have the stories that were in the story Bible. So that's the only difference of why they're different amount of sessions. But they're the same. They're a library. They can be used in any order, and they'll be available at any time. Our other 2 curriculums that we have that are out, does this all the time. Feasting on the Word and Growing in Grace and Gratitude are the 2 that have been around for a while. Growing in Grace and Gratitude is your very traditional quarterly curriculum. It's dated, so once it's gone, it's gone. It will continue because some people just want that, but it will be recycled. It comes through every 3 years. Feasting on the Word is the lectionary curriculum. And that is, it seems like it's a 3-year cycle, like ABC, but there's kind of it goes in a 6-year grouping. And so you get 3 years and then another ABC, but they're different stories sometimes. So it's the lectionary curriculum. It's for all ages. There's something for every age in Feasting on the curriculum. Growing in Grace and Gratitude is just children. But both of those, again, will just continue because for some people, those are their needs. And they want them, so they're both quarterly. They both have materials that are produced in the summer. So if you do a summer Sunday school, you have those materials as well. So that's a quick overview of. Oh wait, I was putting share. I don't want share again. I want stop share. There we go. If anybody has any questions about curriculum in general or a specific curriculum that you're interested in, or Flyway books.
Anybody got a question for Meg? Yeah, Catherine.
When did Flyaway become kind of like its own separate piece? I think I kind of missed somewhere in the mix. It kind of became its own separate section.
It did. It got introduced in 2018, and the first thing was the Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible. And actually, just technically, when it was produced, it was called Westminster John Knox Press because there was no Flyaway. And so when Flyaway became its own children's imprint, it's now been re-imprinted as a Flyaway book. And then other books proceeded. I think like Who Is My Neighbor and The Marvelous Mustard Seed were some of the first ones that came out, and those are all 2018 books. So it's been about 5 years now. Yeah. And we have, I'll tell you, spread the news because there are some great books. They're not all Bible story related. In fact, most of them aren't. The 2 I mentioned are, but most of them are not Bible story related. But all of the books can be used in so many ways. They have themes that definitely are biblical themes, or themes that we, just ways that we interact. We use them a lot in the Follow Me curriculum, some in the Growing in God's Love, just because we have been doing it a little longer in the or they've been around a little more now in Follow Me. In Follow Me, we also, on that first page that was the site page for Follow Me curriculum, we do have a list there for years 1 and 2. As soon as we get through year 3, I'll put up year 3s. But for 1 and 2, we have a list of all the children's books that are recommended for that year. And so it lists, we don't use just Flyaway, we use lots of children's books, but they list them all there so you can see what you might need if you're going to use that curriculum by unit. So you can see those. But we try to use them as much as possible because they're really great books. They have good stories. They're great for children's messages. We hope preachers maybe use them sometimes. We use them in youth sometimes because they're just good stories, and youth love hearing stories too. So
can I ask a follow-up question about that? As one who would love to use it in worship and things like that, do we need to be seeking permissions? Like how far in advance do you know, in terms of like if we were to use it in a,
If you're gonna print it, but you're not, you're probably gonna read it, or, right?
yeah, I just know because like, you know, especially because we're streaming and everything else, you know, and things live on YouTube and Facebook and all that sort of thing. Because like I know one time we contacted another publisher about, I wanted to use a specific Bible story with the illustrations because it was truncated really well and all that sort of thing. And I contacted them and they were really willing to use it, but they said I was preparing to like scan the pictures and put them up on the slides on the, you know, behind us and all that sort of thing. And they said, they gave permission, but they said, don't do that just because of the
That's okay.
copyrights on the picture. So then they said, they're like, I could read it like a storybook. And so basically when it came to the screen, it was like, nobody could see the pictures if they were online because, you know,
Yeah.
they were there. And that kind of is how they were okay with the fact that it was going to live there. But yeah,
That's
so I just want to
okay.
know like what all that would work.
Yeah, I will ask and I will let you know. In fact, if you want to just send me an email or just so I'm reminded,
Yeah.
but I will check on that. I do know, so Flyway has given permission, and on their opening page there, if you click the banner at the top, that you get to a point where it says permission or something. So during the pandemic, and they haven't stopped it, it says you can record this book, but say that you've been given permission by Flyway. There's a way, you know, I'm reading this book with permission by Flyway Books or something like that. I've read several of the books and there's a lot of them that already have videos out there, just so you
Sure.
know. And I look through because some are great and some are not so good. But I've done a couple of videos and I've taken pictures of the pages and then I've like done a voiceover over them. And I don't know, now you say that, I'm like, oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to do that. So I will check on that
Thanks.
just to see. But we were given permission to read the books. They never said you had to hold them. So I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not doing something I shouldn't do.
And I didn't want to open a can of worms. I just know, you know, I admit that I hadn't gone to the website to know. So I was like, while you were mentioning it, I was like, well, I might as well ask so that
Yeah, no, it's
I
a
can,
very good question. I don't think of it, like, I just didn't think that far out about it. Like,
Yeah.
good to ask, but you do have permission to read them. And
Perfect.
so, and to make a video. And so I would say, you know, because you're live streaming, you're right, you can read it. But I will ask about that other part. I think you're probably going to be right that probably the pictures are copyrighted.
Well, no, I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm glad. I'm sure you're shocked to know that it might be on a Sunday morning sometimes where I think to myself, what am I doing for the children's sermon? And then the book is like, okay, but then I think to myself, can I use it or can I not? Because, you know, so to be able to know that there's kind of a blanket permission, obviously I'm not going to have time to scan all the pictures and do that sort of thing. So holding it like this and having the kids see it is fine, which is really the end of the, you know, evidence at the end of the day. Anyway, thank you. 'Cause that's,
Yeah. Well, you're like,
I just didn't know where that permission came from. So thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Meg.
Meg, I just want to say thank you to Flyaway Books, because I had a local congregation here in Lubbock contact me. They're not Presbyterian. They're a large independent Baptist congregation who are open and inclusive in the extreme. And they were just looking for progressive children's material that they could draw on for their leaders camps in the summer. They run about 6 weeks of what they call leaders camps. It's basically an extended sort of day-long VBS / childcare. But I was able to take them I just took them one of our curriculum catalogs with the Flyaway section in it and showed them the website. And I know that they are ordering a number of the Flyaway books and plan to use them. And so I'm glad that we're moving beyond Presbyterian land. And I'm grateful for both the Bible story books and the topical books, because they're excited about all of it. And so thanks for the work that goes into Flyway.
Thanks. I was going to tell you, I was trying to find, I thought I had a sample on my desk, but I don't. There's a new one coming out in October, Psalms of Wonder, that it's 29 Psalms. I will say it's not young children, but young children could listen to them, but beautiful art, 29 Psalms into different topics like Psalms of love, Psalms of comfort, Psalms of joy, Psalms of strength. It's just going to be a marvelous book. And we are creating a resource to use it for parents, families to use it at home, as well as a resource for churches, how churches can be able to use it. So, because I think it's one of those that can be used, as readings in church and different activities and different ways, events that people could do with it. So look for that one in October. I'm so excited about it.
And that one will be available in Spanish.
Yes, yes.
And so that'll be available in Spanish as well. And you later in the summer, there'll be information about a project that we're working with PPC on to help get copies of those in English and Spanish into the hands of families, particularly families who are connected to smaller congregations or their communities. So you can look for that to come. So thanks again, Meg. Now we'll just take a few minutes here. I'm going to screen share to the Wakelet and just point out sort of the categories and such. And then one of the lovely things about a Wakelet is that it's not static. So we can make changes and update it, in different ways all the time. Can you all see that screen? So one thing to know, first of all, is that you scroll down, scroll across. This is how you get to all the different kinds of things in a Wakelet, and we have different categories at the top. It's hard to come up with categories and figure out what the best way to do those things are. So this is our best effort. So we have things related to Bibles and books, stuff related to curriculum, worship, and worship education, and then at home. And there are a few things listed on at home, but there will be a separate Wakelet related to at home that will be next month. Matthew 25, sort of justice and outreach kinds of things. Then just some various topics, things that didn't fit anywhere else. And then ecumenical, that's a place where we're putting some curated resources that come from some of our partner and sibling denominations and other folks. So let's see, I think I will remind us of a few things here. So we've talked about curriculum and Bibles and books, really, especially with Meg, and a lot of those things are linked here, including the 2023-24 curriculum catalog that you can easily get to. As you all are getting into summer and then fall will be here before we know it, just reminding you that we have the Christian Formation Week landing page, which has various resources on it, including blessings for the new school year. In terms of worship, there's something that talks about why, quick sheet, why do worship education with your congregation? And there's a piece that ties specifically to children, for instance. And like I said, at home, we'll expand that one as and actually linked at the bottom of that column will be linked the other additional Wakelet. With Matthew 25, there in Justice and Mission, there are a variety of quick sheets and such. There's one here related to talking with children about homelessness. The Children and Anti-Racism Toolkit, of course, and things about intergenerational mission and such. I'm just going to point out a couple of things in the various topics. Once again, the reminder about Christian Formation Week, but But then I wanted to remind you, of course, that there are lots of things linked in Opening Doors to Discipleship, right? So here's one that's specifically linking to what's next on Sunday mornings, or one of the newest additions to the Opening Doors to Discipleship is the Disability Inclusion for Ministry. So there's a piece on this that is specifically related to children and youth. So there's that. And of course, now let's see if I can get back to my other page here. There's an easy way to get to all of our quick sheets and resources. The Mr. Rogers materials are great all year round in different ways. And then some reminders about retreats. Oh, and then we also, through our office, have a disability inclusion toolkit too that has some ways to think about not just physical space, but also social access, communication policies, those kinds of things. And then there are just some various resources from some of our ecumenical folks. And then I just wanted to mention a couple of things that are coming up. We have some new quick sheets that will be coming along shortly. There are a couple that will be coming related to children in Matthew 25 from both Jenna Campbell and Kat Green. There are quick sheets coming related to pastoral care and children and how we're all can be a part of that. That's coming from Jen Bloomstein, that was also related to an APSE workshop. And let's see. Oh, and then Becky Davis has just finished a quick sheet based on one of her APSE workshops, which has to do with educational technology. So if you're still trying to figure out what some of the best educational technology pieces are these days, or you have some folks in other settings that you want to kind of introduce them to some of those tech tools, that quick sheet is a good place. And I know that Janet's putting various links in the chat, but you can get to all of our quick sheets at the pcusa.org/quick sheets. So that's an easy way to find things these days. So that's just really quick, just so you can see what's there, and then you can take your time to do exploring. And if you have particular questions about any of those, or looking for more information, you can reach out to us. And easy way to reach out to us is christian.formation@pcusa.org, or through other things. So I guess my question here is, are there anything in particular that you're looking for, or is there some way that we can particularly support you today before Stephanie makes announcements? Are there things on your mind?
I'll jump in. Yeah, I'll jump in here real quick because I do have to jet. I am specifically looking for middle school, well, really preteen, and I have a few high school students here. But what we're wanting to do is have a Sunday school class for them in the fall. So I was wondering if you guys have stuff, because being a middle schooler and a high schooler, I don't think this is a shock to anybody, is very challenging. And so these kids are really going through a lot of stuff. And so trying to figure out a way in which teaching them the Bible foundation fundamentals, but also making it where it's relatable to what their life experiences are, has been a little bit of a challenge. And it's not one of those things, I've not been able to find yet a curriculum that is kind of meeting the moment. And maybe I haven't played enough with the Wakelet. I didn't even know the Wakelet existed. So thank you for that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. So maybe you have something and I just don't know where it is.
All right, does anybody have a suggestion?
We've been using the Follow Me curriculum for middle and high school for Sunday school. So I don't know if you're looking for something for youth group. I know people that also use it for youth group, but that's what my teachers have liked so far, and the youth.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, that the Follow Me youth component has because you can choose from the practices, right? So you can kind of think about what your youth might best respond to, and you don't have to go by date.
And if you look at the practices there are some that are definitely more social justice oriented, there are some that are more spirituality oriented, some that are a little, I mean, they all have Bible study in them in some way, so you don't miss out on that in any part. So you can, if there's a particular interest, you might want to show them, like, here's a list of things we could do. Or if you're wanting to, like, mix it up, not just do a bunch in a row, all social justice ones or something.
Okay. Thank you. And also I would say tweens, if anybody has got tween stuff, because I'm taking, and to me, I was like, I don't even know what a tween is. I was like, is that a preteen? Because that's what we would call it back in my day. But we're going to the new tweens conference at Mo Ranch this summer, Summit 46, which will be a new adventure. So it will be, I know that that's going to be something that we're going to be living into. And I know one of our sister churches here in Presbyterian New Covenant has a tweens group, and she sent some stuff. So just throwing it out there, because I think this is when we were talking earlier about what's kind of the new frontier. This is kind of what our youth workers are talking about here in New Covenant quite regularly. That and mental health, I would say, is a major issue.
For the tweens, are you looking for really a curriculum, okay, so an oldie but a goodie, and you can still get it on PCUSA store, are the survey courses. If they're from several years back, but there's an Old Testament survey and a New Testament survey, and they really go through the Old Testament or New Testament kind of book by book or theme by theme, story by story, and and it's a 36 session, I think. So it kind of does, if you did every Sunday, use back in the day, it would be a whole year, but you could spread that out. If you're really looking for something that's like, oh, I'm going to teach them the Bible, and it's not youth groupy, it's definitely a curriculum. But if you're wanting something like that, that would be a great one. A lot of people use that as a precursor to confirmation. But like I said, it's an oldie and it looks a little old, and you might have to do some tech stuff and add some tech to it. It has no tech in it whatsoever. But you can still get it on PCUSA Store. If you look up Old Testament survey or New Testament survey, there's actually a church history one too, but I don't think that one's as interesting. Personally.
Thank you.
But they're really
Perfect.
solid material.
Thanks. All right, Stephanie.
Okay, I think we just have a couple of minutes left and want to honor the rest of your time. So a few announcements for you all. Next week on Thursday, we have a sort of an all call about our cohorts. We want to talk about what a cohort is, how our coaches have engaged in these cohorts, how participants, we've got about 3 years worth of data now of how we've engaged in these cohorts and a few hundred leaders that have participated. But we want to look to engage more leaders and in different ways. And we have, we're going to be doing a big fall session of cohorts. So we'd really like your feedback and questions and comments about how you would like to engage. Cohorts are something that other organizations will charge quite a bit of money for, and we've been able to do them free of cost. So we want to make sure that everybody knows about them. And then next month, I did mention that this call will be about at-home faith formation. And we'll dive into what it means beyond sending home a subscription box or a craft. What is it that we need to do to further engage our families in at-home faith formation? What does that look like? So that's what our session will be next month. I think that you might, if you've had them written down, we switched it around. It wasn't going to be next month. It was going to be July, but we've changed it to June, being at-home faith formation for our leader connection.
Right, and you can get to all the stuff from the link that's in the in the chat right now, and we update that page regularly with other offerings that may be coming along as well. I think that's pretty much it, right? So Becky, I think you are going to close us. Thank you all for
Yes.
being here.
Yeah, so I just have a quick devotion from Kate Bowler's book, Good Enough, that just struck me for today. It's called A Blessing for Beginning a New Spiritual Practice. Blessed are we who are trying a new thing, though we can't quite see the whole of it. That's the beauty of the life of faith. We start in the middle at the heart center of an unspoken desire to live into the glimpse we've had of you and of your goodness. Blessed are we who ask you to be the guide as we begin to build from here and create a stronger, more flexible rule of life, trusting that you are trying to foster life in us. Blessed are we who remember that we will fall short, we will fail, but that doesn't mean we are ruined. We simply pick up and begin again. Blessed are we, willing to be beginners all over again. So blessings to each of you and all of us as we do some planning, I'm sure, this summer for a new beginning and a new year. So thanks.
Thank you all for being here.
Thanks all. See you
Thanks,
next time.
everybody.